Hi everyone, it's me gaming too, and yeah guys, I'm back to this series. As you know, last year on October 31st, I did a review of the original Nightmare on Elm Street and called it one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And to this day, it is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And I just want to apologize in advance for the little watermark down in the bottom. It really can't be helped right now. Besides, you would still have a watermark even if I had my phone with me, which that's the reason I'm using this. It's a screen recorder on my computer, but you shouldn't be focusing on that. You should be focusing on the actual review itself. Because today we are reviewing A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. And I've decided instead of ranking all three franchises from Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm just going to do a review of every single Nightmare on Elm Street film until Halloween when I do my review of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Um, but we got a long way to go because we're only on Freddy's Revenge right now. And what is my opinion on this movie? It's okay. It's nowhere near as good as the original, not even freaking close. But I think for the people who say, "Oh, I love this movie. It's Dark Freddy and he's still in the shadows and stuff like that." I can agree with you, but there's enough in this film that just doesn't make it as good as the original. And then there's the people who say, "Oh, I hate this film. I hate this film." And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't go that far either. It's alright. It's a nice, passable film." So I think I usually like to get the negatives out of the way first. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get the negatives out of the way. And my biggest complaint has to be with one character, Coach Schneider. What a creep. This guy is so freaking creepy. I think it's almost a message to basically stranger danger almost. And I when Freddy killed him, I would have liked to have seen a lot worse of a kill, but it's one of the worst kills in the Elm Street franchise, in my opinion. It's so weird. I don't even really understand what's going on. Blood is squirting out of the showers. He is such a. He's a terrible character. He's probably the worst thing about this entire movie. Then, another negative I have is that this film sort of breaks the rules of the last film where Freddy had to be pulled out of the dream in order to get into the real world. Here, he's just in the real world. No big deal. Well, to me it is. Um, you're breaking the rules, and thank God they fixed it in Dream Warriors, which I will be reviewing sometime next week, by the way, or maybe even this week. I don't know. We'll see how much time I have with college and everything. But yeah, those are my two big complaints with Freddy's Revenge. The fact that Freddy can sort of just come into the real world whenever he wants to now, and Coach Schneider as a character. That's it for my huge negatives. Now we're going to get on to the more minor negatives or even mixed aspects. I would say the rest of the characters, besides Freddy. Jesse was an okay protagonist. I'm not going to talk in this review about what this film is basically known for. It is known to have a title for a certain aspect, I guess you can say, but personally, I'm not going to mention it in this review. But It has to do with Jesse and Freddy basically taking over his body, and it's subtext for something else. And to avoid controversy, I'm not gonna mention it. So yeah, but overall, he was an okay character. He wasn't bad, but he's nowhere near Nancy or even Kristen and Alice in the next couple films. He's certainly better than the characters of Freddy's Dead, which I'm just gonna say right now, that film is stupid as fuck. Um, but you might be surprised by that review that I don't give it a complete F though, but that's besides the point. We're talking about Freddy's Revenge right now. Jesse's okay. Lisa, his girlfriend, I guess you could say. I was actually kind of confused. Are they a couple? I think they are. Um, she was okay too. I found Jesse. Oh, I'm going back to Jesse. I found him a little girlish, kind of, I guess you could say. I mean, listen to his freaking screams in the movie. That's how a freaking girl screams. Oh my god. And then those scenes made me laugh. And then there's sorry, I got a little sidetracked. Then there's Lisa. She's alright, I guess. Not a heck of a lot happens with her. I guess she's the one who's trying to defeat Freddy in the film when he has taken over Jesse, basically. And the ending itself is kind of alright. And then, what's his name? Grady? Ron Grady, I think his name is. He's honestly probably the best character in the movie, besides Freddy. But I still wouldn't say he's great. He's alright, I guess. The characters in this movie are kind of flawed, though, because you don't get to know them as much as you get to know the characters in the first film and the third film and in later films. They're just all alike, kind of. They're very similar characters. You don't really get to know much about them, which is another pretty big flaw for this film. But I do have two big positives for this film, which I love about this film. Actually, three now that I think about it. The three positives, one, and the biggest positive of this entire film is Freddy himself. Freddy is still a dark character who is supposed to be scary and not to be a big joke like he is in the later sequels. That's why you'll see a lot of the later sequels getting a lower score than this, or at least a couple of them, but Freddy is awesome in this film. I didn't really find one bad thing about him in Freddy's Revenge. I might have actually have found him better than in the original, kind of. Or at least on par with the original. I still kind of like his Dream Warriors version the best, but Freddy was awesome in this film. Nothing was wrong with him. Then we're going to get into the second thing I really loved about Freddy's Revenge. Besides Coach Snyder's kill, the rest of the kills in this film were awesome. I mean, the Ron Grady kill was freaking. They made it really tense. Like, he's just pushed against the door, and then the claws come out of the door, and he's bleeding everywhere, and it's just a gnarly kill. But the best kill in the movie is the pool massacre in this film. Oh my god. I don't like that Freddy is in the real world during this kill and the previous kill, but the kill itself was pretty freaking awesome. Like, he literally, my favorite part of that was when the guy was trying to calm Freddy down and he basically said, "Help yourself, fucker!" and just fucking threw him. Holy shit. That's why Freddy is a badass and is instantly the best horror villain of all time. And then the last kill in the movie was weaker than the previous two, but it was still alright. It's a good note to end the movie off on. And the third thing I like about this movie is the whole atmosphere is dark. It's a dark film. It's not comedic like Freddy's Dead or The Dream Child. It's still a dark Nightmare on Elm Street film. Like, there's literally a scene where Freddy pulls back his head and basically shows his brains while laughing maniacally. I know that's probably the most comedic scene in the movie, too. But Freddy's main goal is not to be a stand-up comedian in this film. It's to freaking kill people and be scary. And that's about it for my review of Freddy's Revenge. So, I think this film is a pretty decent movie. It's not great. It's nothing special. Definitely not. There are much better Elm Street films. This is probably one of the weakest films in the franchise for me. But for this being one of the weakest films in the franchise, it's alright. It's alright. And that's why I think a grade of a C plus is good enough for this film. I certainly prefer this film over films like Freddy's Dead, and the remake. But it is one of the weaker Nightmare on Elm Street films for having a very, 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 very overly bad character. And it breaks a lot of rules that other Elm Street films just don't. But for what it is, and it being one of the weakest films in the franchise, in my opinion, it's still not bad. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Next week, we are going to be getting my review of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors out. I'm really excited for that one because you'll see. I love that film is the point, though. So that's about it, guys. Gaming Do here. See you later. Bye.